Hi, everybody. Matt Bernier here in the Daily Racing Form Studios, joined by DRF's national handicapper Mike Watchmaker. We're taking a look at this Saturday's Weekend Warrior, Saturday, August the 26th. It is Travers Saturday up at Saratoga. It is the main marquee day of the Saratoga meeting. Let's start right off with the Travers. Mike, it's race number 11 scheduled to go off 5:44 Eastern. You've got 12 3-year-olds. They're going to go a mile and a quarter. This 3-year-old season has just been throw it up and just see however they fall. Why should this race be any different? Where are you going to go?
I went with Good Samaritan here, Matt. I just don't want all the quote-unquote reputation horses in this race. I didn't like the way Always Dreaming, winner of the Kentucky Derby, or Clock Computing, the Preakness winner, ran in the Jim Dandy. I thought their performances were weak. They both tired in those races. That was the second straight poor effort from Always Dreaming, and you have to remember that Cloud Computing was ideally set up when he won the Preakness. And I really think that the big knock against both of their performances in the Jim Dandy was the fact that Pavel, a horse who had only had one start before that, and that being a sprint maiden win, was involved in a three-way photo with those horses. And I just didn't think it was a good performance on their parts. And I know that I don't want the horses coming out of the Haskell. The Haskell was a slow race. Gervin and Mac McCracken ran 1-2 in that race. McCracken still hasn't gotten a buyer above 94, 95 in his career. I just don't think that those horses are quite fast enough to win this race, even with all the iffy 3-year-olds in this spot. Whereas, to me, Good Samaritan is like a brand new horse. I mean, he from the get-go, he's been one of the best 3-year-old turf horses around. I mean, he was arguably best when third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last fall. He was brutally compromised by extremely slow paces in the Pennine Ridge and in the Belmont Derby before his Jim Dandy. His connections had wanted to try him on the dirt for a very long time, and they finally did it in the Jim Dandy. And one of the things about moving this turf horse to dirt is that, at least in dirt races, he's going to get paces more honest than he was getting in turf races, which is not to say the pace that he got in the Jim Dandy was a fast pace. It was a very unremarkable pace, but still, it was faster than what Good Samaritan had been seeing, and he just exploded in the stretch. He just buried those horses. Won very impressively, and I think the added distance of the Travers is going to be very much to his benefit, and I think the pace won't be any slower, and it might be actually be a little bit quicker than the Jim Dandy was, and that will only help Good Samaritan too.
This seems like the kind of race where folks are going to gravitate toward the fresh faces. One of them, and probably the leading fresh face, is West Coast for Bob Baffert. Mike Smith comes east to ride this horse. Overall, he hasn't done a lot wrong. He had a blowout victory in the Easy Goer. He looked very good winning the Los Alamitos Derby. Where do you fall on this horse?
Well, I respect him in this spot, and for one of the reasons that you mentioned. I mean, he's a new face, and I'm frankly a little bit tired of some of the others that are, were competing in the Triple Crown races or in the Haskell. I think they've really shown that they're a limited group. That said, West Coast's last two wins, I mean, the Easy Goer 2-back, it was a solid win, but not over a particularly strong field. His win in the Los Alamitos Derby was kind of weird. I mean, if you watch that replay of that race, it looked for the longest of times like he wasn't going to get anything. And I kind of think in the late stages, that race kind of fell in his lap. And I wasn't happy with the way B Squared, who finished third in that race, came back to run so dismally in the West Virginia Derby. I mean, I liked B Squared in the West Virginia Derby, and he didn't move a muscle in that race, even though he was out in the best part of the racetrack. And I just wonder about the quality of competition that West Coast has been beating, but it is to his favor, I think, that he is a new face, so we don't know how limited he is yet.
I suppose there's a scenario where you can consider Taproot a new face because we haven't seen him since the Belmont Stakes. You also have horses in this spot like IRAP. Is there anyone else that you're mildly interested in?
Well, I'm not mildly interested in Taproot. I mean, this is a very interesting point that I included in my Weekend Warrior story. 7 of the 10 horses that Taproot beat in the Belmont Stakes have run since. 6 of the 7 lost. The only one who won was Twisted Tom, who was life and death to win the New York Derby at Finger Lakes over New York breds. So, we all kind of knew that the Belmont Stakes was weak on paper going in because it didn't have the Kentucky Derby winner, it didn't have the Preakness winner, and I think that this has proven that it was a decidedly weak Belmont Stakes this year. And, I don't know who's going to be the favorite in this race. I really don't. I mean, I was surprised to see Tapper was made the morning line favorite, but I can't say who is going to be the favorite in this race. And maybe he's as good a guess as anyone. But I do know that if Tapper wins, I will absolutely positively lose.
Race 11 Saturday afternoon. It's the Grade 1 Travers. The 3-year-olds this year, it's been a crapshoot. Why would Saturday be any different? Mike's going to go with Good Samaritan, though, the horse in good form that has a victory over the Saratoga main track already under his belt. We're going to take a break. When we come back, staying right at Saratoga, we're going to take a look at the older horses, 7 furlongs. It's the Grade 1 4-go.